How's my sound? Can you hear me? Our opening words are by poet and activist Maya Angelou from her poem On the Pulse of Morning. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day, breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. And please join us in saying the words as we light our chalice this morning. We light our flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In the search for justice, may we just. In the search for justice, may we be loving, and in loving, may we find peace. And please rise in body or in spirit as we sing our song for gathering, printed in your order of service. We'll sing it in English and in Spanish. Please be seated. This reading is by Langston Hughes. It was written in 1938 or published in 1938. It's known as Let America Be America Again. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plains seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free and equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, and mean. Hungry yet today, despite the dream. Beaten yet today, oh pioneers, I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker, bartered through the years. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, for all the dreams we've dreamed and all the songs we've sung and all the hopes we've held and all the flags we've hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again. The land that never has been yet, and yet must be the land where every man is free. The land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take our land again. America. Oh, yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath. America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we, the people, must redeem. The land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain. All the stretch of these great green states. And make America again. Friends, the next 5 months, at least, are going to be a stressful time. Some of us will be out working to register voters, and others will be engaged in the election process in other ways. Some of us will be struggling with personal challenges that may make each day feel like a battle. Whatever is the case with you, it will be important to just keep breathing. So I'd like to invite you to join me in just a short meditation on the breath. Would you please just take a comfortable seat, whatever that means for you. Maybe move the shoulders a little bit, head, whatever feels good. And invite you to take a deep breath from the belly, from deep down. And then let it go. And another deep breath. And if it feels right, let it go for a little longer on the exhale. And then sitting in stillness for just a moment. I invite you to remember that you are here. Right now, in this place, in this time, you are safe. I invite you to observe what's going on in your body. Just check in. And then to acknowledge what you find. Please join me in taking one more deep breath. And let it all go. And then slowly, in a place of calmness, we return. You know, when Bob and I met a few weeks ago to talk about the theme for this service, he asked me if I had read Jill Lepore's 2018 book, These Truths, which is a sweeping history of the United States. Well, I hadn't, and at 932 pages plus footnotes, I didn't think I'd have time to read the whole thing in time for the service. So I downloaded the recorded version and I listened to it. I listened to it while I was watering plants and weeding and planting seeds and weeding and feeding the bird feeders and weeding. And at the end of all that listening, I came away with one thing, one lesson. This country has never been an innocent, pristine Eden. From the very beginning, the weeds of racism, sexism, and other forms of oppression and greed have sunk their roots deep into the land. And although there have always been good people who have tried to pull out those strangling curses, no single remedy has ever been enough to completely destroy them. And so the weeds come back again and again in different guises, in slavery, and the massacre of Native Americans, and the exclusion of women from civic life, and Jim Crow laws, and segregation, and the atrocities of Indian boarding schools, and the race-based discrimination of immigration law, and the state-sanctioned torture of non-combatants in Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib, and mass incarceration, and the policing of women's bodies, and the criminalizing of LGBTQ plus lives, and on and on. So long as the root remains, the weeds just come back again and again. The story told in Dr. Lepore's book is different from the one I learned as a kid, growing up in the late Cold War era, when the 4th of July was an uncomplicated holiday celebrating an unquestioned patriotism. This was my first 4th of July in our new home in New Mexico. And where we live, we could stand in one spot out in the front yard and we could see unobstructed the fireworks display from the town of Taos, as well as smaller displays all around us from all of the surrounding towns. And then these, of course, random fountains and firecrackers and I think gunshots set off by neighbors. And in previous years, all that festivity would have only brought me joy. But I have to admit to you, this year, it made me thoughtful and tender. I couldn't stop thinking about the Supreme Court decision from just a few days before that, reversing a long-held standard, setting one man above the law. I couldn't stop thinking about what Kevin Roberts, president of the Heritage Foundation, had said in response to that ruling, quote, "We're in the process of a second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be," unquote. I couldn't stop worrying about the upcoming election and wondering if years of gerrymandering and intentional undermining of the public trust leaves any hope for a fair process. I couldn't stop thinking about what is at stake: true religious freedom as opposed to Christian nationalism, efforts to combat climate change before it's too late, reproductive justice, and specifically access to abortion and contraceptives and fertility treatments, the stabilizing structures of democracy, the right to vote, the reform of our criminal justice system, diversity, equity, and inclusion, public education, the rights and well-being of our LGBTQ+ siblings, the humane treatment of immigrants, and more, so much more. Anyway, on Thursday night, as I watched numerous fireworks displays all around me in towns and in people's yards, and heard the laughter of children and the voices of neighbors, all held in the dark embrace of mountains, I couldn't stop wondering, how can we celebrate with loud explosions a democracy that is as fragile as glass? And here's where I find comfort in that lesson that I took away from Lepore's book. This country has never not known conflict and polarization. This country has never not known fear, somebody's fear. This country has never not had scoundrels in high places. This country has always been a place where, for somebody, life is unjust and justice feels unreachable. This country has always been a site of struggle for the poor and the marginalized. This democracy has always been as fragile as glass. And yet, if we are afraid of what will become of our democracy, if we fear that justice will not be served, if we are concerned for our freedom and for the well-being of our loved ones, then this only means that we are in good company. Because others have been here before, and they have kept going on, and they have shown great courage, and they have not backed down. They have acted out of love, even for a country that didn't love them back. This is the kind of courageous courage and love that Langston Hughes illustrates in the poem that I just read, speaking not out of self-interest alone, but in the unified voice of all of the marginalized and oppressed, poor white people, Black people, indigenous people, immigrants, farmers beholden to big corporations, workers barely getting by. Hughes dares to envision a country that is more than beautiful aspirations, but that is the embodiment, the incarnation of the dream the dreamers dreamed. He speaks from the position of one who has been intentionally excluded from the dream. And yet he believes that opportunity can be real, and life can be free, and equality can be in the air we breathe. It isn't a perfect president, or the courts, or the press, or a prophet, or even the Messiah who will make all this come to be. It is we, the people, who make America and who make it again and again. From a 21st century perspective, Hughes' poem can seem romantic, not realistic at all. But isn't this also the foundational affirmation of our Unitarian Universalist faith? That not God, not a supreme infallible being, but people, simple, fallible people, working together, rooted in love, can bring justice and compassion and dignity and kindness into this world. As unbelievable and unattainable as that may sound. And if that's not what we're doing here, then why are we even here? The process theologian Monica Coleman writes about how Black women, doubly oppressed because of their gender and race, have persevered in making a way out of no way. Coleman writes, quote, "Whether you are a quark, an amoeba, or a person, you undergo this continual process of sorting through these three inputs: what you inherit from the world, what's possible in your context, and what you do about it. This is the cause of our freedom. We are not bound by the past. It is not a deterministic system. We can do something new." Many of us who have known different kinds of privilege in our lives now fear that we could lose the freedoms we have held dear, the rights we and others once fought for, and that we may have assumed we would always have. The freedom to make our own reproductive decisions, the right to express our most deeply held identity, the right to marry the person we love regardless of their race or gender, the right to practice any religion or to be free from religion, and of course the right to vote. Recent events have taught us we can't rely on the courts, the press, or a political superstar to save us. That much is clear. And it may be tempting to give in to cynicism, alienation, and despair. I felt on the edge of such resignation watching the fireworks from my home just a few nights ago on the 4th of July. But to despair would be to betray the memory of those who made a way out of no way, who marched, who protested, who wrote, who dared to vote no matter what. Not with the guarantee of winning, but because they chose to do something. Out of the rack and ruin of gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we, the people, made America. We, the people, must make America again.
Okay. I hope Diana's reflection will help you add something to your summer reading list. 950 pages of Joe Lepore's book, These Truths. I read it, it took me 6 months to read. But the point that Diana was emphasizing in the book is where we are now is not new. We've been there over and over and over. And it's really important at times like this that we understand our history, that we have some sense of where this started and some sense of the struggles and the pain and the losses and so on. So if you are so inclined, it is worth taking the time. At this point in our service, we take a few moments to provide for the ongoing support of the congregation, the work that we do now, and to echo Diana's, it's what we do. This is what we do, and we do it week after week, month after month. And so thank you for your support. Sir. Thank you.
Body or in spirit for our closing hymn. It's number 159 in the hymnal. This is my song. Please be seated. Our closing words are by Reverend William Sinkford, who was the president of the UUA from 2001 to 2009. We are a gentle and generous people, but let us not forget our anger. May it fuel not only our commitment to compassion, but also our commitment to make fundamental changes. Our vision of a beloved community must stand against a vision that would allow the privilege of the few to be accepted as just and even holy. Our religious vision must again and again ask the gospel question, who is my neighbor? And strive always to include more and more of us as we intone the words that gave birth to this nation. We, the people, we are, and we should be both a gentle and an angry people. Please join me in saying the words as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. After the benediction, I invite you to stay seated for a moment to appreciate the beautiful music that Martha offers us. And remember that we have on offer tea and coffee and cookies and good things, but we have to be out of here by 1. I leave you with this blessing as we focus on the future of our country, as we go to do the work of making America. May we not forget all those hearts in other lands that beat with hopes and dreams as true and high as ours. May we not forget those other lands with sunlight too, and skies as blue as ours. A song of peace for Palestine, for Ukraine, for all lands torn by war and suffering. A song of healing, a song of freedom for all of us. May it be so.
If there's one play that expresses, maybe not all, but certainly an important part of the American experience, it's Thornton Wilder's Our Town. And the music that Martha will play shortly is part of a score that Aaron Copland wrote for a movie version of Our Town, of trying to use music as a way of telling at least some part of the American story.